The blood platelet counts of a group of women have a bell-shaped distribution with a mean of 245.8 and a standard deviation of 63.6, and all units are in the 1,000 cells UL. Now, using the empirical rule, we want to find each approximate percentage below. The first one is, what is the approximate percentage of women with platelet counts within one standard deviation of the mean, or between 182.2 and 309.4? And what is the approximate percentage of women with platelet counts between 118.6 and 373.0? So what you want to do is you want to get familiar with the fact of what the empirical rule is. So here's our question, right? So what do we know? Well, this is our empirical rule, and you can see here that one standard deviation above and below the mean is going to be 68%. 2 standard deviations above and below the mean is going to be 95% within 2 standard deviations. And when it's 3 standard deviations above and below, it's 99.7. Now, just so that we get familiar with this, let's go ahead and do our calculations. So the first thing we want to do is find out, okay, first let's see what 245.8 and then minus 3 times the standard deviation of 63.6. And that gives us 55. So that means that 55 is our value that's 3 standard deviations below the mean. Okay, let's do the next one. So we have 245.8 minus 2 times, again, the standard deviation is 63.6. And that gives us 118.6. So here, we have 118.6. Now let's go to 1 standard deviation below the mean. So what that means is we're taking 245.8 and then minus 1 times 63.6, or just subtracting 63.6, and we get 182.2. Now remember, the mean here is 245.8. Okay, now let's find this value here. So we're going to take now 245.8, and now we're going to add 1 standard deviation times the standard deviation, and that gives us 309.4. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at 2 standard deviations above the mean. So we're going to take 245.8 plus 2 times 63.6. And that gives us 373. Okay, and then we're now going to do the following. The last one is 245.8 plus 3 times 63.6. And that gives us 436.6. Okay, so first let's just go ahead and review what we just done. Right? So we need to take a look at what's happening here. And you can see that, again, 1 standard deviation away from the mean are these 2 values here. And then 2 standard deviations, and then 3 standard deviations. So let's go back to our question. Okay, it says approximately what percent of women in this group have platelet counts within 1 standard deviation of the mean, or between 182.2 and 309.4? Well, between 182 and 309.4, we're looking at 1 standard deviation from the mean, which is going to be 68%. So therefore, our answer is going to be 68%. Now we want to figure out, okay, approximately what percentage of women in this group have platelet counts between 118.6 and 373.0. So here's 118.6, and this is 373.0. And I should be adding 1 decimal place, so I'll go ahead and do that for both of those ones. It doesn't have that decimal place there. Okay, and so if you notice here, 118.6 and 373.0 are 2 standard deviations from the mean. Now remember, 2 standard deviations from the mean is 95%. So therefore, we're going to say approximately 95% of women in this group have platelet counts between 118.6 and 373.